How come most startups fail, even when we have more tactics and strategies than ever before? Join the bedside chat of an entrepreneurial couple as they share what it takes to create a business with ease and in flow. Welcome back to another Biz in Flow bedside chat. I am Jachym and I'm still all by myself and alone. Can you believe it? Natasha's gone on a meditation retreat, as some of you might know who have tuned in yesterday. And so I'll be reflecting again all by myself on the day. So, I have just finished today a short intensive I did with a client. It was amazing, and it was a huge kind of breakthroughs that happened. And if you're wondering what is he talking about with intensives, well, intensives are days where I go away with one client usually, and I spend several days, sometimes one day if it's a short one, sometimes usually 3 days or more, one-on-one with one client in a room, and we really dive deep into what they would like to create and all the underlying patterns that might be holding them back in whatever shape and form. Just basically I'll be of as much service as I can with that person in the room. And I've done those, I've done many intensives in this kind of format and really enjoy them, because usually a lot of breakthroughs are happening simply because you're going away and you're taking the person out of their usual context and you're spending all this time together. So you build up a lot of momentum, because when you do session by session, week by week or every 2 weeks or whatever the format is, that's great as well too. However, there is something to be said about spending a lot of time with one person. And usually, when you stop a session, yes, those can integrate as well. However, when you are on a continuous kind of journey in this time period, it just seemed to go deeper and deeper in that time. And what you can uncover really can be amazing and super deeply transformative. So I did a fairly short intensive this time, and I really enjoyed it. I've been working with this person for quite a while by now, and I've done an intensive with this person before for like 3 days or something like that. And that was that was great. Already then there was lots of breakthroughs. But I just felt, there's more that we can do together. And so I know that the person has been a bit of difficulty and struggle, and so I suggested, we can do that as a kind of a gift, which is something I usually don't do to that kind of extent. But I want to be of service as much to the person as I can during the time period that we're together. So anyways, we have gone away, and it really feels like we have gone into a very deep place. And the person described to me like having a whole tub of blue water, and there's this dissolving solution that you can dip in, like one drop that goes in, and it transformed the blue into white. And the person said that's exactly how it felt this time. It's like we got to something, and there was this one drop. Of course, the drop usually is some kind of insight or realization, and it really transformed everything. And the way that the person described it was like it was breaking open, like the chest was like liberated, and tension has fallen away, and it really seemed very transformative. Now here's something very interesting. We all have an idea of who we are and what we stand for, and a certain self-image, certain kind of self-importance. And that can get really in the way of doing change work, because we have an image of being, for example, a nice person, yet actually underlying of this nice person, there's all kinds of behavior that actually can be quite dark. However, how are you going to be, acknowledging that and actually looking at it and seeing for what it is when you have this kind of nice person front and you feel like you need that nice person in front, for protection or for admiration or for getting love, you're going to be fighting yourself not to look any deeper and actually be real with yourself. And so what I can really recommend to anyone who's doing any kind of coaching with any person on this planet is just be real. Be real to yourself. Take the courage to actually look where you're at, what you're doing, and what's going on. Because whatever you've done nothing wrong. The whole world is walking in innocence. I'm serious about that. The whole world is walking in innocence. Why? Because all a person is doing is reacting to the reality that seems real to them in that moment. And so we are doing the best. Every person on this planet is doing the best to their ability. Now that may result in very nasty behavior and very bad behavior and very harmful behavior as well for other people. And I am not in any way sweet-talking bad behavior. I am very much in line and believe in, stepping up, and if any bad behavior comes your way, noticing that, not just noticing that, but dealing with it appropriately in that moment. However, at a deeper level, we all are walking in innocence because we are just believing thoughts that are not true. That's all we're guilty of, and everyone is as guilty of that as anyone else. And so no matter what kind of dark stuff you've done nothing wrong, because all you've done is you've gained experiences. Now what I do say is take a look at those experiences, learn from them, not just intellectually, but from you as a being, from the emotional aspects, from your heart. Really learn from the experience. And then move on. Take the experiences, take the learnings with you and leave the rest. Because without those experiences, you wouldn't be the same person. You wouldn't have the same understanding. You wouldn't know any different. So good on you for listening to yourself. Good on you for actually having the courage to look and acknowledge what you have been doing. And by the way, I can talk about this because this is what I've done. And I have taken a look at the very dark sides of myself that I was hiding before and that unconsciously played out in my life. And have been very destructive. And I am very glad I gave myself the permission to have them play out so I could actually see them. Because if they are unconscious, well, I can't see them because they're unconscious. Why they're unconscious? Because I don't want to see them because I am the nice guy. Now there's another thing that comes in the way, and that is judgment. Because when you have judgment and you believe in the judgment, well, how are you going to look? If you're judging yourself, how are you ever going to look? Because you're afraid of actually being judged. So become aware where you're judging yourself, where you're being nasty to yourself, harming yourself. And start to become aware of what judgment actually is. Anyways, those are kind of very fundamental pieces that I over and over revisit with people I work with because they are so fundamental and important. And here's why they are so fundamental and important, because the key to a happy life, the key to a fulfilled life, the key to a productive life, the key to being aligned and doing what you want to do, first of all, is taking a look with your being, with your heart, at your life, at yourself, at your behavior. And then there's the part of actually forgiving yourself and forgiving the other people that you might be blaming for whatever you've been going through. Forgiveness is absolutely key. Why? Because the only person that you're hurting when you're not forgiving is yourself. You are literally hurting yourself. Now, how does forgiveness come? Forgiveness comes from understanding. Forgiveness comes from seeing what's happening, from realizing, from having an insight. That's where actually forgiveness comes from. Forgiveness can't be forced. It's not something that you can force. Yes, you can say with your mind, yes, I'm going to forgive this person. And that is a good step. That's a first step. That's where I started first. That's the first step, and that's good. However, to really forgive, You have to go deeper. You have to go into the emotions. You have to feel what's been going on and release it. Take the learnings. That's where forgiveness starts. Now, even deeper than that is when you actually deeply understand on an emotional level what the other person has gone through that has done whatever that they have done to you. Then you can truly, truly, authentically forgive. Now, when it comes to forgiveness, it's important to know that I'm not talking about sweet-talking the behavior or sugarcoating something that's been a bad behavior and a bad experience in the sense of you would never want to go through it again. I'm not talking about that. Forgiveness is about allowing yourself to walk free of the experience, of letting it go, taking the learning on board, and letting it go, letting the emotion go. Because you're the one who's carrying all this stuff around. You're the one who's suffering. Now this was the key. This was the solution that hit the blue liquid. In the intensive was that the person realized that they need to forgive their parents, their mother especially. That's what the person realized. And that realization started first more kind of on a head level, but very soon kind of dropped deeper. Now the person wasn't aware that it was dropping deeper and actually touched something. But later on there was this huge release where lots of things just started dropping away, where they really could feel it physically in their body, how it was moving and shifting. It's important to know that you're the creator of your reality. You have chosen whatever's been going on in your life. Whatever dynamic is there in your life, you're part of it, and it can only play out because of you. If you change, the dynamics in your life with other people change. Now, of course, this is probably not a favorite thing to hear by a lot of people, because we'd like to blame the other people. But that is just a pattern of victimhood. You have to step out of it. You're the creator of the game of victimhood. In order to play the game, you got to forget that you're the creator. However, there comes a point in time where it's time to wake up, where it's time to take the learnings from playing the victim game and step up and remember again that you're the creator. Now, the good thing is that the game is rigged in your favor. All it takes is to look at what you've created, at all the different experiences and how they played out and how all the little patterns fit together. It's really fascinating. Now again, I'm not talking about analyzing it with your head. It's about an emotional understanding. Of course, you have to be ready. You have to be willing to let it go. To actually reclaim your power. Because you're more powerful than you think. You're just playing the victim. And of course the victim can't much have power, or he's not going to be a good victim. Now I don't know how user-friendly this is, as Natasha would say it, because I've come off an intensive and I'm talking from my experience of myself. I have been the victim myself, and I have been the perpetrator myself, and I have been all the different shades that come from going into different dark places of self-destruction, victimhood, of deprivation and humiliation, all of that. I've experienced all of that. So it's very obvious to me, and when I'm working with someone, it's very obvious to point out what's happening with them. However, every time I do that, the person has to see it for themselves, because that's what generates change, is when you see it for what it is for yourself. It is very, very powerful when you actually drop all the guards. And here's another learning I've taken from doing this intensive. If you want to see tangible results from a coaching, then you got to take action. It's very simple. If you want to change your life, you got to take action. The way I work is I work on the foundation. I work with the person on whatever's going on under the hood that they're unaware of. For example, looking at victim pattern. Because if you're the victim, how are you going to be successful? How are you going to be actually enjoying your life? That's not part of this game. You got to change the game first, so you got to step out of that. So I look at all the different underlying patterns and knots that we tie ourselves up in. So for example, the person had difficulty with relationships. There was a certain aversion and desire towards sex. Right? Now, if you have aversion and desire at the same time, that doesn't really work, because you want it, but you can't have it, but you really want it, but you can't express it, and all of this, and it's a tug of war, really. And it's tying up your energy into knots. Well, if you want to go and create that, you're going to have a difficult time because you're tying yourself in knots and you actually can't move forward because you're actually busy, being tied up in knots. And so that is what I work with, is with the foundation, with you, and building a stronger foundation where you are actually aligned within yourself and free of whatever insecurities and fears and whatever things are going on within you, so you can take more action. However, you're only going to see the results when you actually go and take action towards the goal that you want to take. And that's really important to realize, because I've worked with clients who seemingly had no change in their life. And here's the reason why they seemingly didn't have a change in their life. That's because they haven't been taking any action towards the goal that they were wanting to create. However, when we actually then took a look at where they're at in their life, it's been absolutely massively transformational, the work that we have been doing, because they feel more peace, they feel more at ease, they feel more comfortable, they are happier, they're more fulfilled, they're more independent, they are more self-aware. There's so many layers of transformation, authentic, true transformation that has happened with people I've worked with. But that stuff is invisible because it's within you. And the problem with it being within you is that most of the time you were not going to notice it at the beginning, especially because you have a certain self-concept of how you are. So for example, a client of mine, he said, oh, my daughters are saying, why are you so quiet? Why are you so still? Quiet, because I was working in German with him. So not quiet in the sense of talking, but quiet as in very quiet within himself. And that is a result of him working with me, and to the degree that his kids noticed it about him to have a really profound change. However, then for him to really recognize all the different changes that happen in him is very difficult, because he's in it and he has his self-concept. Yet when people are giving him feedback, there's always things that have changed. And for me personally, those kind of intangible, sometimes a bit invisible or harder, more it's a bit more difficult to be visible to you, especially for me on the outside. It is more visible. For people around you, it probably is more visible, and it will become more apparent to you, especially if more self-awareness. It was going to become very, very, very visible over time. But at the beginning it might not be. So it's then hard for you to actually realize how deeply you really have changed, because most people are busy looking on the outside for the creations that they're creating in life and measuring their progress on that. But those things that are creations, well, they require energy and action from you, specific action especially. So I don't know. How about you? What are the things that you value? For me personally, it's very clear. I value the internal changes. They are the things that really, really make a difference in my life, and has made a huge, massive impact in my client's life. Now, it is much easier to create from a place of peace, a place of flow, a place of happiness, a place of contentment, being content, rather than from a place of feeling, judged and insecure and all of that. Now, if you would like to have a conversation to see where you're at, to see, if there are things that we can really help you to move forward, maybe you feel stuck, maybe you feel like you've done everything that society told you to do and yet you still don't feel happy, well, reach out to me. You can reach me at Jachym, that's my name, Jachym, at bizinflow, bizinflow.com. I repeat, Jachym at bizinflow.com. And Jachym is spelled Jachym. Anyways, if you enjoyed this podcast, please share it, like it, whatever you do. And I am looking forward to hear you on the next one. Good night.